To give a little bit of background, I'd worked previously in the corporate world at JP Morgan and a few other organizations where I had leadership positions. And in my current role, I'm definitely more hands-on managing people directly. And for me, that transition from, I was a trader previously doing much more hands-on day-to-day, less direct personnel management. That transition has been a challenge, and sitting in the seat that I am now, realizing that how I run my team, how I work with my team is much more crucial than being able to do the what we call the it work at the end of the day. And so the skill set that I sort of came in with was limited, and the coach training program for me was really an opportunity to expand my skill set as a manager and as a leader to really be able to work better with my team in the context of the work they were doing, and think a little bit outside of the box in terms of, oh, here are the tasks for the day, but really starting to relate to the people on a more individual basis and figuring out how to build those relationships.
That's great. That's great. So I think that's really important for people to consider who are leaders, that even if they're not directly positioning themselves as coaching resources to individuals on their team and in their organizations, many executive leaders are literally evaluated and rewarded based on their ability to influence other people in positive and successful ways.
Definitely. And I feel that I am coaching people almost on a daily basis.
What would you say were your top learnings going through the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when we started the program, we were introduced to this concept of self as instrument. And to me, that was really brought up throughout the program, and a real highlight to me, because it really was being very self-aware of what you're bringing into discussions, communications, and even decision making, and trying to not or at least recognize your shadow and some of the things that you might be projecting in that decision making, in that communication, or if you're dealing with conflict within team members, trying to show up and just be open to hearing, receiving feedback, providing feedback, and not bringing any of my own baggage into it. And I think that as a leader, that is a critical element of being able to gain trust and work well with your team. That was definitely one of the learnings that I really benefited from. The other was the Enneagram. And the Enneagram, when doing some of the work through the program, I realized it's another tool to put in the tool set of evaluating people, why they are behaving the way they do, potentially thinking about things a little bit differently and taking into consideration other people's perspectives and why they might have those perspectives. So it's really going to the foundation of why people behave the way they do. And one of the things that I really loved about the program was how close I was with my cohort, with the fellow participants in the coach training program. Once you give space to understand what people are bringing in to a meeting, to a decision on a day-to-day basis, it also helps create a level of trust and a level of ability to work together that I think strengthens the team, that ultimately creates better output. And being able to create that level of vulnerability and openness in your team is something I will use throughout my career now.
How would you say that you're a better leader as a result of what you experienced?
Part of the complexity of when you sort of move up into management and then leading people versus doing the day-to-day is there's, you have a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of uncertainty. Am I doing this right? How do I manage people appropriately? Do I, don't want to step on anybody's toes, but you want to work with people. And the dynamic of power over and power with is something that, it comes back to my mind all the time. And I know that prior to taking the program, I was much more of a power over. It was like, okay, I'm the leader. Here's what everybody does. I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to go away. And if you don't do it, I'm going to come back and be upset. Now it's more like, okay, how do I work with the person to help them achieve their goals, and not have that dictator type mentality, which ultimately left me feeling a lack of confidence, because it was 100% on me then to ensure that dictatorship was correct, and it wasn't always correct. So I've learned a different way of working, which is very, very helpful.
Why do you think other organizational leaders, especially executive leaders, should truly at this point consider acquiring coaching skills, even if they don't plan on ever being coaches in their as a career option? Why should they invest time in developing these skills?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of the answers before definitely help answer that question to me. And I think about it very clearly though in one way, which is, as a leader and moving into management, you have to start to delegate, right? And you have to start to rely on people to do a job. And oftentimes it's difficult because they don't do the job the way you want them to do the job. They do it differently. And it's your opportunity to either work with them, learn why they're doing it that way, accept the way they're doing it, and make some decisions, or try to continue to push it in that certain direction. And ultimately, to succeed, you need to mentor, you need to coach, and you need to work with people that you want to delegate to. And the coach training program for me helped me get to a point where I could identify that more clearly and really be proactive about thinking about that on a day-to-day basis, and making sure that I'm ultimately moving in that direction, which helps me be a better leader because I have a better team.